My brother demanded that I give him my inheritance. I'm a man, so it should be mine, he said. When I refused, he brought our whole family to my office to embarrass me. As he left, he smirked. Enjoy your last day here, he said. The next morning, I arrived at work and found my desk empty. Then my boss told me something that made my heart drop. I never thought my own family would betray me like this. Sure, my brother and I had our differences growing up, but I never expected him to humiliate me, ruin my job, and turn my family against me. It all started when my mother passed away last year. It was sudden. She went to sleep one night and never woke up. Losing her was devastating. We were very close. My two brothers, especially the eldest, Lucas, had been distant for years. Lucas always saw himself as the head of the family, the rightful heir to everything, but he never took care of Mom, never called her, never visited, unless he needed money. I, on the other hand, was the one who helped her with everything, doctor's appointments, bills, errands, so when her will was read, it made sense that she left me most of her estate. It wasn't much, just her house and some savings, but it meant everything to her. My younger brother, Eric, got some money too. Lucas got something, but clearly, it wasn't enough for him. As soon as we left the lawyer's office, Lucas cornered me. That money and house should be mine, he hissed. No, it was Mom's, and she chose to leave it to me, I said. Lucas scoffed. You're a woman, you don't need it. I'm the eldest son, it should go to me. I laughed, not because it was funny, but because it was ridiculous. That's not how this works. He stormed off, but I knew he wasn't done. For weeks, he kept sending messages, demanding that I give him everything. When I ignored him, he tried guilt-tripping me, saying families should take care of each other. When that didn't work, he got aggressive, calling me selfish, a thief, and a disgrace. I refused to give in. Then, one day, he showed up at my office, with our entire extended family. I work in a professional office, so I was shocked when Lucas marched in with aunts, uncles, cousins, people I hadn't seen in years. Before I could react, he started talking loudly. I want everyone to see what kind of person my sister has become. He turned to my coworkers. Did you know she stole from our family? She took everything our mother left behind and refused to share. I felt my face go hot. My boss stood nearby, watching. I took a deep breath. This is not the place for this, Lucas, leave. But he kept going. She's a liar, a selfish, greedy liar. Some relatives even clapped. My aunt shook her head. Shame on you, she muttered. Your poor mother would be heartbroken. That's when I realized, Lucas had lied to them. He had turned them against me. I clenched my fists. I wanted to scream, but I knew that's what he wanted, for me to lose control, to look like the bad guy. Instead, I looked him in the eye and said, leave, now. He smirked. Enjoy your last day here. Then he walked out, my so-called family following him. I stood there, humiliated, my stomach in knots. My boss looked like he wanted to say something but didn't. The next morning, I walked into my office and found my desk empty. At first, I thought it was a mistake, but then my boss called me in. We need to talk about the accusations against you, he said. My heart dropped. What accusations? He looked uncomfortable. We received an anonymous report about financial misconduct. It claims you've been stealing company funds. I felt sick. That's ridiculous. He held up a hand. I want to believe you, but the report came with documents. He slid a folder toward me. I opened it and froze. Inside were fake emails, bank statements, even forged signatures, all making it look like I had stolen money. This isn't real, I whispered. It's fake. My boss sighed. Maybe, but corporate is taking this seriously. You're on unpaid leave while we investigate. I felt like the air had been sucked out of the room. What happens if they believe it? I asked. If they find proof, you'll be fired, he said, and if it's serious enough, they might press charges. I gripped the chair tightly. Charges? Like, legal charges? I could lose everything, my job, my reputation, my future. This wasn't just revenge. Lucas wanted to destroy me. I took a deep breath. I didn't do this, you know I didn't. He hesitated. I want to believe you, but it's not about what I think, it's about the evidence. And right now, the evidence was against me. I wanted to scream. I had worked at this company for years. I had spent long hours, skipped weekends, and missed holidays just to get my work done. And now, because of one false report, my entire career was falling apart. I had to prove I was innocent. The next few days were a blur. I couldn't sleep or eat. My work email was locked, and I wasn't allowed in the office. My coworkers, even the ones I thought were friends, stopped replying to my messages. I needed proof that someone had framed me. I started by checking my personal email, looking for anything suspicious. If Lucas had faked emails under my name, There had to be a mistake somewhere, but he had done a good job, it all looked real. Then I remembered something. My company saved every email sent through its system. If I could access those backups, I could prove I never sent those messages. The problem? Only IT and senior managers had access, and since I was suspended, I couldn't even enter the building. I had no choice, I needed help. I called Daniel, an old friend from IT. At first, he was unsure. I don't want to get involved, he said. The company takes security seriously. I understand, I said, but I know I'm being framed. If you help me get those email records, I can prove it. He hesitated, then sighed. Fine, but if this gets out, I could lose my job. I promise, no one will know. A few hours later, Daniel sent me a file. My heart pounded as I opened it. Lucas had made a mistake. The emails sent under my name, they didn't come from my company's system. They were sent from an outside internet address. Even better, the timestamps showed I was logged into my office computer doing other work when those fake emails were sent. That meant I couldn't have sent them. I had proof, but I needed more, something that would completely expose Lucas. Then a thought hit me. Lucas must have needed my personal information to pull this off. If he had faked emails, maybe he had tried to access my accounts before. I checked my login history. There it was, several failed login attempts from an IP address I didn't recognize. I traced it, and my stomach dropped. It was Lucas's house. The confrontation. I didn't waste time. I drove straight to Lucas's house, heart pounding. I didn't bother knocking, I stormed inside. Lucas was sitting on the couch, drinking a beer, looking smug. Well, he said, how's unemployment treating you? I threw the printed logs onto his table. You really thought I wouldn't find out? For a second, his smirk faded, then he leaned back. I have no idea what you're talking about. I pointed at the papers. The fake emails? They didn't come from my company's system. They came from an outside internet address, and guess where that address leads? He rolled his eyes. This is ridiculous. Your house. His face twitched. I stepped closer. I don't know what you were thinking, Lucas. Did you really think I wouldn't fight back? For the first time, I saw fear in his eyes. But before I could say more, my phone rang. It was my boss. I hesitated, then answered. Hello? His voice was serious. We need you to come to the office, right now. My stomach dropped. Why? He paused. Because corporate just got another complaint about you. I felt like the floor had disappeared beneath me. Another complaint? I turned back to Lucas. His smirk returned, wider than before. Oops, he said mockingly. Guess I wasn't done yet. I gripped my phone tightly. What did you do? He shrugged, just tying up loose ends. My boss's voice came through the phone. Are you still there? I took a deep breath. I'll be right in. I glared at Lucas. If you think you're going to get away with this, you're wrong. He laughed. And if you think this is over, you're dumber than I thought. I wanted to wipe that smirk off his face. But I had no time. I had to get to my office and find out what was happening. The second complaint. When I arrived, the office was silent. People stared at me as I walked past, whispering. My boss was waiting in the conference room. Beside him was someone I didn't expect, HR. This was bad. I sat down. What's going on? My boss slid a folder across the table. We got another complaint. This one is worse. I opened the folder. My heart stopped. Inside were messages, texts, emails, screenshots. They were bad, racist comments, threats, even blackmail. And they all looked like they came from me. I shook my head. These are fake. The HR rep, Diane, frowned. They came from your company email. I turned to my boss. Check the logs, just like last time, you'll see these weren't sent from my computer. Diane and my boss exchanged a look. We already checked, she said. My stomach turned to ice. What do you mean? She folded her hands. Unlike the financial documents, these emails were sent from your office workstation. I felt dizzy. That's impossible. My boss's voice was tense. We checked. The messages were sent using your login, from your office computer. I couldn't breathe. No. This didn't make sense. Unless. I swallowed hard. Can I see the exact times the emails were sent? Diane handed me a paper. I scanned it, heart racing. Then I saw it. The messages were sent at times when I wasn't even in the office. I looked up. Check the security cameras. If my computer was used, we'll see who was sitting at my desk. My boss hesitated, then nodded. I'll have security review the footage. Diane sighed. In the meantime, we have no choice but to extend your suspension. I clenched my fists under the table. Lucas had gone too far. And I wasn't going to let him win. I had proof that Lucas faked the financial fraud, but this was different. Someone had used my work computer, which meant Lucas had helped someone from inside the company. I didn't go home. Instead, I drove straight to the one person who could have done this, Daniel. When he opened the door, he looked surprised. Hey, I pushed past him. Tell me the truth, Daniel. What? The fake emails, my login info, someone used my work computer when I wasn't there. How? Daniel shut the door, rubbing his face. I don't know what you're talking about. Don't lie to me, I snapped. You helped me before, but if you were part of this? I didn't do anything, he blurted out. Then he hesitated and glanced at his laptop. I noticed. What? He sighed. Look, I swear I didn't mess with your account, but a couple of weeks ago, someone asked me how to reset a password remotely. I thought it was just an IT request. Who? He hesitated. Terry. My stomach dropped. Terry, Lucas's friend. I should have known. I turned toward the door. Daniel grabbed my arm. Be careful. I pulled away. I don't have time to be careful. I stormed into Terry's office. He looked up, pretending to be surprised. Oh, hey, aren't you on leave? I slammed my hands on his desk. Cut the act. I know what you did. He smirked. I have no idea what you're talking about. You used my computer. You sent those fake emails. Why? He leaned back in his chair. I owed Lucas a favor. My blood boiled. For what? Terry shrugged. Does it matter? He asked for help. I helped. You framed me for fraud and harassment, I shouted. Do you even understand what you've done? He just smiled. Yeah, I got you out of the way. A sick feeling twisted in my stomach. Out of the way for what? Terry didn't answer. He just grinned. I rushed out, my hands shaking. I needed to tell my boss everything, but as I stepped outside, my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. Hello? A low chuckle came through the line. Lucas. Looks like you're catching on, he sneered, but too late. I gritted my teeth. You won't get away with this. Oh, I already have, he said smugly. By the way, you might want to check the news. I pulled up a news app and froze. My face was on the front page. Disgraced employee under investigation for embezzlement and workplace harassment. My vision blurred. Lucas wasn't just trying to get me fired, he was trying to destroy me. I didn't go home. I didn't call a lawyer. I went straight to Lucas's house. He was on the couch, beer in hand, laptop open. He didn't even flinch when I walked in. Wow, he said, clicking his tongue. You really don't know when to quit. I slammed my hands on his table. You went too far, Lucas. He grinned. Too far? No, this is perfect. You always thought you were better than me, didn't you? The responsible one, the successful one. But look at you now. You're nothing. No job, no reputation. No one will ever hire you. I clenched my fists. You did all this over Mom's house? He scoffed. This isn't just about the house. It's about respect. She gave it to you, and you didn't even hesitate to take it. I shook my head. You never cared about responsibility, Lucas. This isn't about respect. It's about your ego. He chuckled. Doesn't matter now. The world thinks you're a fraud. You've already lost. I pulled out my phone and pressed play. Lucas's own voice filled the room. I got you out of the way. Guess I forgot to mention, I wasn't finished yet. His smirk vanished. I let the recording play, his confession, his arrogance, his own words proving his guilt. When it ended, I tucked my phone back into my pocket. You're right about one thing, Lucas, I said. I've lost a lot, but you just lost everything. His jaw clenched. I already sent this to my lawyer, my boss, and everyone who needed to hear it. His face turned pale. I stepped closer. You wanted to ruin my life, but now, you're the one under investigation. For the first time, Lucas had nothing to say. Everything unraveled after that. My company launched an investigation and found out Terry helped Lucas. They both got hit with lawsuits, for fraud, defamation, and conspiracy. Lucas tried to fight it, but the evidence was too strong. He was forced to admit the truth. The family members who had believed him suddenly wanted to talk. I ignored them. They had humiliated me without a second thought. I owed them nothing. Terry lost his job. Lucas? He lost everything, with legal fees piling up. No one left to manipulate, and no job. He was stuck. I heard he had to sell his car, then his furniture. Eventually, he lost his apartment. Meanwhile, I got my job back. My boss personally apologized. Things weren't the same. I still carried the weight of what happened, but I was free. And the house? It stayed mine. Months later, I stood in my mother's house, looking out the window. This was what Lucas had tried so hard to take from me. I thought about everything I had lost, my trust and family, my peace of mind. But I also thought about what I had gained. I had fought for myself, I had won. And Lucas? He had made his bed. Now, he had to lie in it.